I crossed a line I can never uncross. A line that turned my home into a house of shame. I slept with my stepson. Not once. Not by mistake. But again and again, like a woman who had lost all sense of who she was. The first time it happened, I could barely breathe afterward. I remember staring at myself in the mirror that night, not recognizing the face looking back at me. The guilt, the fear, the rush, it was all tangled together inside my chest. But what scared me more was how alive I felt.
He was 20.
My husband's son, and he was nothing like his father. It started the day I walked into his room without knocking. He had just gotten out of the shower. I froze. My eyes moved before my brain could stop them. And in that moment, something inside me cracked. I should have looked away. I should have said something. But I just stood there, burning. And that was the moment everything began to fall apart. Before I go deeper, I just want to take a moment to thank every single one of you who has subscribed to this channel. Your support means the world to me. To all our new and returning viewers who are yet to hit that subscribe button, I honestly cannot wait for you to join this family. Your subscription is what fuels this channel and keeps these stories coming every week. So please do not forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts below. Now let me tell you how I became the woman I swore I would never become. My name is Mildred. I live in Colorado with my second husband, Martin. I am 42 years old, a part-time librarian, and a full-time wife. Or at least I was. Martin and I had been married for 6 years. He was a good man, but not a present one. He worked long hours, talked little, and showed even less affection. Our bedroom had grown cold years ago, but I convinced myself that I could live without passion. I was wrong. Then Andy moved in. Andy was Martin's son from a previous marriage. He was 20 years old, tall, athletic, and confident in a way that made me nervous. I had only met him a few times before, but when he decided to stay with us for a few months while sorting out his school situation, something shifted. He filled the house with energy Martin never had. He helped with chores.
He made jokes.
He noticed when I changed my hair or wore a new dress. And the way he looked at me, it was not the look of a son. But I still tried to be strong. I kept my distance. Until that one afternoon. I had just returned home early from the library. The house was quiet. I went upstairs to check if anyone was home and called out Andy's name. No answer. His door was cracked open, so I pushed it. He stood there, completely naked, drying himself off. I gasped, but I could not move. He turned. Our eyes locked. Neither of us said a word. I do not know how long I stood there, but when I finally turned away, something inside me was already changing. From that day forward, my thoughts betrayed me. I replayed that image in my mind at night, in the shower, in the quiet moments when Martin sat beside me without touching me. I hated myself for it. And yet, I waited for it to happen again.
It did.
One evening, Martin was out of town. Andy and I were watching a movie in the living room. I was wearing a thin sweater, and I could feel his eyes on me. I told myself to get up and leave, but I did not. Instead, I leaned back, closer. Then it happened. A kiss. A breathless, reckless kiss that pulled me under like a wave. That night, we crossed the line. I did not sleep that night. I just lay there, curled in my bed beside the man I had betrayed, while the heat of his son's breath still lingered on my skin.
I thought it would stop after that night.
I thought the guilt would swallow me whole, and I would snap back to my senses. But the opposite happened. I craved it. I craved him. Andy was nothing like Martin. Where Martin was predictable, Andy was wild. Where Martin barely noticed me, Andy made me feel seen, wanted. It was wrong in every possible way, and I knew that. But my loneliness had turned into hunger, and Andy fed it like it was his purpose. We became experts at pretending. During the day, I played my role. I made dinner. I kissed Martin on the cheek. I folded laundry and asked about his meetings. And every time I did, the shame burned behind my smile. But at night, when Martin was asleep or away, I would sneak out of our bedroom and into Andy's. It was like living two lives, one built on routine and expectations, the other on danger and fire. I started noticing changes in myself. I wore perfume again. I stared longer in the mirror. I smiled when I was alone. But I also jumped every time Martin touched my phone. I panicked when Andy and I were left in a room alone with him. One night, at dinner, Martin mentioned how happy he was to see me in good spirits again. He reached across the table, squeezed my hand, and said, "You have been glowing lately. Whatever it is, keep it up." I nearly choked on my wine. Andy just kept eating, his face unreadable. But later that night, when we were alone, he leaned close and whispered, "He is not wrong, you know. You are glowing. Because of me." That was the moment I realized we had gone too far. We had gotten careless. A few weeks later, I came home early from the grocery store. Martin's car was in the driveway. That was odd. He had meetings all day in Denver. I stepped inside and called out his name. No answer. I walked upstairs. My heart was racing for no reason I could explain. Then I saw it. The door to the office was wide open. Martin was sitting at his desk, holding something in his hand. A photo. It was a mirror selfie Andy had taken in my room. His shirt was off. My necklace was hanging from his neck. I had taken that necklace off the night I froze. Martin looked up slowly. His face was blank, but his eyes were trembling. "Why would Andy have this?" he asked. I could not speak. He stood up. "Tell me why Andy would be in our room, wearing your jewelry." The world spun. My knees buckled. I leaned against the doorframe, my throat closing up. He took a step closer. "Mildred, what have you done?" And just like that, the lie cracked wide open. I had always feared this moment, but nothing could have prepared me for the silence that followed Martin's question. He did not scream. He did not shout. He just stood there, quiet, still, and shattered, like he had been punched in the soul and could not find the breath to scream. I tried to speak, but the words would not come. My mouth opened, then closed. My chest rose and fell. The air felt heavy. "I am asking you one more time," he said slowly. "Did you sleep with my son?" I nodded. Martin turned his back to me. I watched his shoulders rise and fall, just once. Then he let out a sound that was somewhere between a laugh and a sob. He ran both hands over his face and then slammed his fist into the wall. That sound, the thud of his knuckles against the plaster, was the moment I knew our marriage was over. Andy came home an hour later. I was sitting on the couch, my eyes swollen. Martin was upstairs packing a bag. When Andy saw me, he paused. "He knows?" I nodded again. I could not look at him. Martin came down the stairs, suitcase in hand. His voice was calm but shaking. "You are both disgusting. I do not care who started it. You're both grown. You knew better." Andy tried to speak, but Martin cut him off. "Save it. You're not my son anymore." The door slammed behind him. And just like that, the house felt colder than it ever had. The weeks that followed were quiet and cruel. Martin moved out and filed for divorce. Word got around faster than wildfire in Colorado. People at the library stopped speaking to me. Friends I had known for years blocked my number. I was called names behind my back and sometimes to my face. But the worst part was not what people said. It was the silence from Andy. He left a note one morning, said he was sorry but he needed to go. that he had confused lust with love and could not bear the damage we had caused. He left no number, no return address. I stood in the kitchen with that note in my hand and finally let the tears fall. Not because he was gone, but because I knew I had let a moment of fire destroy everything I had built. I live alone now. The house is quiet again, but it is a different kind of quiet. It is the kind that echoes. I still think about Andy. I still think about Martin. Was it worth it?
No.
But in those moments, it felt like I was breathing after years of drowning. I mistook that for love. I mistook that for life. I do not expect forgiveness, and I may never fully forgive myself. But I will never lie again. Not to others, and not to myself. That is the price of truth. It comes after the fire has already burned everything down. Thank you for listening to my story. If you have ever made a choice you regret, or felt trapped between loneliness and desire, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let us have an honest conversation. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more raw, intense, and emotionally powerful stories. Your support keeps this going, and I am truly grateful. Until next time, stay strong, stay honest, and never forget what the fire can take from you.